Starting a podcast can be super fun and equally nerve-wracking because there's quite a bit of things that you need to figure out before you actually press record and publish that episode. So I'll be sharing 10 beginner podcast mistakes that I want you to avoid as you're starting to launch your podcast. Hey, I'm Jasenia, and this is Focus on Bloom Studios. Here we share a variety of tips and tactics to help you up-level your video podcast game. So if you like that type of content, hit that subscribe button so that you don't miss out on any upcoming videos. Creating a podcast can be super fun, but you're going to be making some mistakes, and that's more normal. But I definitely want to help you out in that process so that you don't make that many mistakes like I did when I first started out a couple of years ago. The first thing, and this is essential, is having poor audio quality. You definitely want to start with the right foot forward with your podcast and having really good audio quality, especially because you're inside people's ears. So you want to make sure that no matter what type of equipment you're purchasing, whether it's a $30 microphone or $400 microphone, the quality of the audio is good. So you don't want to sound muffled. You don't want to have background noise somewhere around or other distractions that will take away from the point and the message that you're trying to deliver. So again, make sure that you are having really good audio quality from the very beginning. The second one is a lack of consistency. And actually, this happened to me in the very first season. Every month, we have so many podcasts that are starting up, but not all of them continue successfully after several years or even within the first year. And I don't know exactly the amount, but that's not the point here. The point is that you want to make sure that you are consistent in your publishing schedule. And that could mean that you're scheduling or you're sharing your podcast twice a month, maybe once a month, however that is. Maybe if your goal is every single week and right now you can't handle that type of production for whatever reason, whether it's the time that you have to record, whether it's the resources, financial resources to actually work on 4 episodes per month, whether that is if you're hiring somebody to edit it for you. The point is you want to build a consistent schedule. So you can start out as maybe 1 episode a month or 2 episodes a month. And if your goal is to get to that 4 episodes a month, so weekly episodes, then work towards that. Maybe in that interim, you have extra time to do a 3rd episode that month, then perfect. Just add it as a bonus. So people will enjoy the fact that you're adding additional content as opposed to saying, hey, I'm going to schedule every single week, and you end up missing half of that. So it's important to be consistent. Number 3 is failing to promote your podcast. I promote my podcast on Instagram, and actually that's really where I hang out the most too. So it's always important to remind people to promote your podcast. And a great way to do this is by using audiograms or really better short form vertical videos. If you are an audio only podcast, you can just prop your phone and record it from like the side view. And then this way you can then include some of those snippets or clips from that recording and share it on your social media feed. And then that's a really great way to improve your discoverability and reach and just promote your podcast. Number 4 is ignoring your audience. And this is very important because your podcast has a purpose. You're delivering a promise to the main reason why you created this podcast. So you want to make sure that you're paying attention to the analytics of your podcast to see what type of trend you might be able to discover, and within the context of all of the episodes that you've been publishing to see if there's a particular trend in what type of podcast episodes have better listenership than others. The next one is not having focus. And this is essential because you want to make sure that whatever content you're sharing within the podcast is delivering to the promise of that initial reason to why you created a podcast in the first place. And at the very beginning, you're still getting your foot into, what is your audience liking and what's resonating the best with them in that particular format. So again, pay extra attention to your analytics and see what your audience is telling you. The next one is not allowing time for your guests to speak and deliver their point. It's very important that when you have guests in your episode, you allow them to deliver the message and the purpose of why they're actually spending time with you and sharing information with your audience on your podcast. So one of the things that I do for my episodes where I have a guest, I actually prepare a series of like maybe 5-6 guiding questions that I actually send them ahead of time so that they know what I'm going to be asking them. They can also prepare with that, but also it keeps me on track of time and not lose track of the actual subject of what we're talking about. And that allows them time to speak and deliver their point, and also myself to make sure that everything is running smoothly. The next one is over editing. Yes, we're going to do and all these like filler words. It's normal. And the more you podcast, the less that's going to occur because you're going to feel more confident in that. That doesn't mean that it's going to be perfect from the and every single time. I mean, I just blabbered right now. The thing is, you want to sound natural, like it's a conversation. You definitely want to avoid overusing these filler words because it's going to become distracting. However, these can be edited, but you want to edit it in a way that it still sounds natural. So that's one of the things that you want to keep an eye and an ear out for when you are editing, or if you're subcontracting somebody to edit, you want to make sure that it sounds like it's a nice conversation, but it sounds nice. The next one is neglecting your show notes. Show notes are essential, and this could be just the paragraph and a short excerpt of what you're talking about in your podcast, and include that in that short description box like you see in the YouTube video. And in that, you can not just only include the description of the episode itself, but you can include relevant links and ways to connect with you or with your guest if you have a guest in that particular episode. If you have a blog for your podcast, even better, because this will now help with the SEO on your website, because you'll have keywords within your related topic. So again, it's just a smart way to put your content to work for you. The next one is to forget to monetize even from the beginning. And we might think that we need a gajillion downloads a month or a week to monetize, and that's actually not true. So while you do need a certain amount or a reasonable amount of downloads and unique downloads on your podcast to maybe have a brand partnership with a particular brand that you might want to work with, however, you can still monetize your current knowledge, monetize what you already know, and start making that passive income come from your podcast. Now, this is not going to be like that, nothing like overnight. So be realistic with this, but it's something that you can consider and should consider from the very beginning, because you are investing time and also probably investing some money in producing this podcast. So you want a little bit of that return on investment. Finally, and this might be a little overrated, but it's actually very true, giving up too soon. It takes time to produce a podcast and to get into the flow of where you feel, okay, this is good. This is where you want the podcast to be. It will take time for the podcast to make some money in return if you're already monetizing it. If you haven't, let me go back to the previous point, monetize. So yeah, it takes time and you won't see necessarily those results right away, but be very intentional when you're creating that content, because you can have 1,000 downloads per episode and that not convert in any single way. And you can have merely 50 downloads a month, and then that in terms converts into a paying client, somebody that actually hired you for your services, or maybe somebody saw a particular episode that you've included a link in your show notes to a particular product that you have, and voila, you just made some passive income. So be smart about it. Don't give up too soon. I hope you enjoyed this video. I will link a couple more videos here to help you out in your podcasting journey. See you in the next one.